Well, I'm back with you guys again, James Lee McFarland here, Gentleman Jim, the brother from Harlem with the high school education. So now I'm entering into high school. It's the 10th grade. Most high schools, especially in New York City, you enter into the 10th grade because the junior high school program takes you through the 9th grade, which would be technically your freshman year in high school. But it's okay because the programs are designed for a 3-year course. Now, I'm in the 10th grade, and like I told you, I walk into this fabulous building on 24th Street, and I'm just blown away. And like I say, I'm blown away by all the sisters wearing their clothes and all the brothers with their tailor-made pants and stuff on. I'm just taken, boy. I'm in fashion heaven. That's the way it was. Because in the school, they had showcases with mannequins with clothes on that the students made and whatnot, and everybody is stylish. This is high school. There's no other high school like that. Okay. Today, what they wear is nowhere near what we wore back in the days. The girls, the young ladies were very conscious about what they wore. The guys were very conscious about how sharp they could be. Each grade wore a different colored jacket or smock, and you could identify what grade a person was in by the color of what they wore. Now they had a few freshmen in there because, see, in some of the schools, like out on the island and whatnot, their schools ended more like a middle school at the 8th grade. All other junior high schools ended at the 9th grade. So you either went in, most of the time you go in the 10th grade, and a few freshmen that come from some of those other schools enter into the 9th grade. So they had a freshman program. But like I'm saying, I'll start backwards. The senior ladies wore a yellow jacket, like a lab coat. Like a lab coat. The senior guys wore a gray jacket, which looked like a Tailor jacket. But it was cotton, you know, and it was also like a lab coat. Then the junior guys wore a blue jacket, and the junior girls, they wore a blue jacket also. When you got to the sophomore guys wore a gray jacket, but it was made differently. You could tell by the style. And the same thing with the young ladies as juniors. They wore like a big apron. And I'm trying to think of what the freshmen wore because there were so few of them. They too wore, I can't remember what color they wore, but there were so few of them, you didn't pay them any attention anyway. So now I'm in this school, and I'm in the fashion design department, and they're showing us, first of all, they taught us how to sew. And like I say, they drill you with the basics over and over and over, and that's straight stitching. Okay? And then we moved on to other things. Well, as I said, in the fashion department, I'm really kind of one of the only straight guys in there because most of the other guys were in the tailoring division. So they used to rag me all the time about being in the fashion design department, but I didn't really know any better. When I entered in, I wanted to make tailored pants, but I chose the fashion part of it because I figured you had to design them. But I didn't know you didn't have to do all of that. So I'm in the tailoring department. I'm in the fashion design department, and it's different. It's not really what I wanted, but I mastered the sewing part, and I got pretty good at making ladies' clothes. See? And then all of a sudden, the annual fashion show that they have to show what you did, they always tell you to come up with something original. Well, I couldn't think of nothing original. You know, I didn't know anything about originality. But what I could do is because I could always sew a zipper in where you couldn't even see it. Oh boy, could I sew a zipper in. Straight stitching, zippers. I talk about this all the time. Now, the fashion show, I didn't let anybody really see my projects. I kind of hid it over here and I hid it over there. And let too many people see it. But when it came down to the fashion show, with my model, and the models are students, that are in the school. So you get one from a different grade, and you have to find them. You ask them, you want to model my clothes for me? And I had come up with something new that had never been done before. I said, okay, let me go for it. What I did was, when my model came down the runway, and she got to the end of the runway, she turned her little pirouette, whatever you want to call it. She turned like that, and she turned back, and she zipped the sleeve off of the jacket that I had made, and I had made some pants, and she zipped the leg off of the pants that I had made. Now she had a short set with a 3/4 sleeve and shorts, the length that they wore back then, not the little short shorts there. They were kind of right above the knee. Crowd went wild. The teacher looked at me, she went wild. There was a lot of industry people in the audience, they went wild. They had never seen that before. That was original. Now, you gotta remember, I'm 15 years old. I don't know nothing about patenting, concept, or anything. First of all, you can't patent clothes, that's number one. But you can patent a concept of something. I knew nothing of that. This is 1960 when I did this. 1970 is when it became the big phenomenon, and it is still today, where you can zip off a part of the garment. Had I known, or had they known, had even my teacher said, you need to do something with that. But it was so far ahead of everybody else, they all looked at me and said, oh, that's the greatest thing. But I was too far in advance for my time. It's okay, life is. And I've learned to live with that. But that's the only original piece I ever did in my entire life. Everything else, I copied somebody else. This I didn't. I came up with that. So as I look down the road and I see what's happening now compared to what was happening then, that concept today, it'll probably go on forever. Nobody had ever done it before. And I tell people all the time, one of the reasons why zippers really just started to come into play big time in the 50s. Prior to that, everything else was button up or drawstring. That's the way you close or open your garment, either button up or drawstring. They had no Velcro. The zippers that they made back then were big old clunky zippers. I know, because that's where my mother worked in a zipper factory in Long Island. And she used to bring zippers home for us just to play it. All you did was slide them up and down. Couldn't do anything with them. I didn't know how to make anything when I was a kid, but I had a whole bunch of zippers. And they were big, they had big teeth on them. They weren't the new modern, sophisticated zippers with the nylon coil or invisible. They didn't have any of that back then. They were just zippers, which was just a main form of opening and closing of garments. That's all they were. Wasn't a fashion statement like you see now with zippers on the outside, zippers on the seam that are showing. It's a fashion statement now. Then it was just a mere form of opening or closing a garment. So I look back at these days and say, wow, man, if I could have just understood what the patenting process was about. And it's a concept, because you can't really patent clothes, but it was a concept. And I said, boy, oh boy, oh boy. So that was my first year in the school. I learned how to sew extremely well. And I could make anything. It wasn't anything that I could in the ladies' line. But that's really what I didn't want to do. I wanted to get into the men's tailoring. And I thought that you learned a little of everything when I first got in there. But it's not. They were divided up. So it was okay. So for my first year, I kind of just coasted through that. But I got very good at making any and everything that I wanted to make for ladies. So I just said to myself, okay, we'll see what happens next year as I go along. So I just tell you people that the brother from Harlem with the high school education bids you farewell for this journey here. But I just want to tell you how it was when I first got into high school and what they taught me and what the school offered then that today It's one of the best fashion high schools in the world you'll ever see, you'll ever get into. Now, a lot of people don't toot the horn about the high school of fashion industry. I do, because I have taken what I learned back in when I started in 1959, and I've stretched it 57 years of professionalism from that. So it had to do something, and it did a lot for me. And it changed my whole character. It changed my whole outlook on fashions. I see people today in the clothes that they wear. It's okay. I'm not judging anybody, but how the young people dress today. But in my day, a lady looked like a lady, and a gentleman was a gentleman. That's why Gentleman Jim is saying to you guys, see you again. Be blessed.